angels waging war in the unseen realm. Global events fulfilling biblical prophecy. Eternal life. What lies beyond mortality? From analyzing the paranormal from a biblical worldview to the discussion of cutting-edge science and technology, conspiracy, discovery, special investigative reports. Unafraid to explore the challenging issues facing humanity. Welcome to another edition of SkyWatch TV.
There's a theme that permeates mythology, shows up in different cultures in different times throughout human history, and it relates very much to what's happening today as we face a global government or a push toward global government at, well, frankly, a drive to return us to Babel. This is SkyWatch TV. I'm Derek Gilbert. Welcome. In studio with my best friend and wife, Sharon Gilbert, and an internationally recognized broadcaster, minister, and the author of an important book, The Green Gospel, The New World Religion. We welcome Sheila Zilinsky back to the program. Sheila?
Thank you. Great to be here.
You made a really good point as we were discussing before the broadcast about the green man, the myth of the green man. That stretches all the way back to ancient Egypt with Osiris.
Yep, as we are recording this, today is March 16th. Tomorrow is Green Man Day.
Yes, that's right. St. Patrick.
Yep.
There's
it's supposed to have been the death day of Osiris.
Exactly, March 17th. A reinvention, then, Patrick, of Osiris. Fascinating stuff, but that also relates to other aspects of Celtic mythology with the Green Man, Herne the Hunter.
Yes, indeed. Back in the day, I don't know if you ever watched, there was a Robin Hood revival. That series has been made so many times. But that one was highly pagan in its portrayal, and it had Herne, who would meet with Robin in the woods all the time. Herne is the Green Man in the UK.
Well, it's brought under the guise of this, ancient fertility cult again with these various players. Whether you have Bacchus, like you said, the Green Man, it's that ancient paganism brought up to date under these little cutesy Robin Hood. I mean, after all, the merry men.
I know. Who didn't love Robin Hood as a kid?
Who didn't love Robin Hood? But the green movement and the worship of Gaia is the underpinning of all of this. But yet, global warming, you wouldn't really think, well, what does Gaia worship have to do with global warming?
Right.
Well, Al Gore had said in 2010, along with James Lovelock, the scientist James Lovelock said, we humans are giving Mother Gaia a fever, and it is time to eradicate and this is on record, and the New York Times reported it, and on record, this fella, James Lovelock, said we have to bow down to worship Mother Gaia on record. And I thought, if this isn't, and nobody batted an eye.
Bow down
to Mother Gaia, the sentient being that all life comes from. We are all one. We are all connected. I mean, it's so many layers of paganism that it's shocking. And these are really the ones that dominated the Babylonian, Grecian, Roman Empire, all the way, as you said, back to who was really the kingpin, the poster child for paganism was Nimrod.
Yeah. And there's some really good work out there by, David Rohl.
Yes.
Who has equated that first king of the global empire, Nimrod, as perhaps being the first Egyptian pharaoh, Narmer. And researcher and author Peter Goodgame, in his book, The Second Coming of the Antichrist, makes the link between Narmer, Nimrod, the Sumerian king Enmerkar, the Tower of Babel, and Osiris.
But
and that links the whole Green Man back
you
to the
look at
Tower of Babel.
Osiris, you look at Nimrod, you look at who the real power broker was in there. It was the woman. It was Semiramis
in
and it was
the
Isis.
legend, right? Yeah.
Yes, in the legend.
Sure.
Exactly. So it's the woman riding the beast. She's the one with the power. It's Gaia.
Well, and the Chloros horse in the pale horse of the Revelation is a part of this as well. It's like dancing green horses running through the street.
And ironically, the Chlorosaurus is the one who's bringing in pestilence and disease. Yeah.
So it all works lockstep. And of course, now you have the United Nations, you have mandatory vaccinations. So that pestilent piece is interwoven into this as well. The Georgia Guidestones, the nice manageable little population of Well, they say on the guidestones 500 million, which is a far cry from the current 7 billion.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm sure slick Billy Gates who has a penchant for vaccinating everybody. Sterilization is actually written in one of his proposals, forced sterilizations. Forced abortion. John Holdren's another one we mentioned in another series. Good old Obama's hand-picked science czar. These are the nefarious players that are behind the UN, lockstep with the Pope. Now, that is also frightening to think that Catholics around the world are just supposed to, swallow this. And that is the ultimate expression of worshiping the creation. And what does God say over and over? He gave man dominion over the earth, not the other way around.
Exactly.
The thing that's really disturbing is that while the Pope, to his credit, said that he doesn't believe that the number of humans walking on the planet has any impact on global warming, his science advisor, John Schnellhuber, does not agree.
Schnellhuber was quoted in the New York Times as saying he wants, on record, people can do a search on this, he wants a population of 1 billion, is perfect. So there you have another depopulation. Is a science advisor to the biggest religion on the planet today, and he's going for depopulation? That is diametrically opposed to Catholicism.
They must read the book of Revelation and just do a little happy dance, because in the book of Revelation it shows over and over again that the world population is dying.
Yes. Yes. So it's so frightening how this is diabolically opposed to the Bible, to God's benevolent design. God, again, is in control of the earth.
Amen.
The fact that the climate changes, we used to call it weather.
Yeah.
So it's amazing.
And we've seen just in our lifetimes, just that the things have cycled a bit. We were laughing last year, a couple of years ago. We had the heaviest snowfall that we'd had in like 30 or 40 years, and thinking, well, and this is supposed to be the hottest year on record. Every year, there's another report from somewhere saying it's the hottest year on record. But, we were doing that 2 years ago as we were digging out from, 18 inches of snow back in Illinois. We moved in here last year, and about a year ago this time, now today as we record this, it's 78 degrees in the Ozarks. But a year ago, we were getting 6 inches of snow as we were trying to move in.
Warming.
So, well, I'm all for it. It is, one of the aspects of this seems to be a fundamental redefinition of the role of humanity in creation. How does God's role for mankind sit or compare to the role of those in the Green Movement?
Well, again, it's the ultimate form and expression of Gaia worship. So it's a goddess worship, again, that we get back into the ancient fertility cults, eugenics, racism, feminism. It's a reemergence of feminism. But the root cause of this, which Karl Marx was a big proponent, and then you've got the conjoined Marxist twins, Ehrlich and Paul Ehrlich and John Holdren, who wrote Eco-Science, it's always an overpopulation theme that is woven into it. One-child policies was popular a few years ago. So that whole life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, we don't want you to have land. We don't want you to own anything. We want to control every... it's all about control this.
The same thing was going on late 19th, early 20th centuries when the eugenics movement started to grow up. The idea then was that there were way too many people of the kind we don't want in this world. The truth is the elites always see themselves as exempt from all of the rules.
Well, when Prince Philip said he would like to come back as a deadly virus to wipe out the Earth's population, I thought, why don't we start with you? Because here's the thing, even Planned Parenthood, I mean, we know that Margaret Sanger, the founder of Planned Parenthood, she was a huge eugenist.
And
she was one of the founding members.
She was one of the founding members and a hardcore Luciferian, as well as Derek just alluded to, a racist of epic proportions. And she was interlinked with Bertram Russell, Aldous and Julius Huxley. So you have all the British Fabian socialists were interwoven into this. Then you have Prescott Bush, you have the Nazis, you have IG Farben chemicals. All this is interrelated, and it is just absolutely frightening.
I want to develop that a little bit further, and I think I want to compare and contrast how this is manifesting in the 21st century versus how it was manifest, say, in the 21st century BC, because it seems to me that the form may have changed, but the function is the same. We're talking with Sheila Zilinsky about her book, The Green Gospel, and our conversation continues next on SkyWatch TV. To celebrate the release of Nita Horn's inspiring new book, No Fences, SkyWatch TV would like you to tell your story, because after all, even if you don't think so, you actually have a story.
send in your story, and we are going to choose the 10 best, and they'll be published for Christmas release in an anthology of those stories, along with the book that you buy that is actually only $19.95. Am I right on that?
That's correct.
For free. Tom Horn, crazy guy, he's throwing in a journal, which on its own, most of these retail for $20 on their own. So this journal is to help you start writing your story. When you buy the book, not only are you going to be enrolled in this and you can send in your story, but you'll get a plastic pony, you'll get a journal of your own, and the proceeds from the book are going to help fund the studio we're building for SkyWatch Women, and Nita Horn is going to be one of our panel members.
The 10 authors who are selected for the anthology, published by Defender Publishing in time for Christmas, will also receive a $500 cash prize.
And that'll go a long way at Christmas time, won't it?
Yes, it will. Even if your story is not one of those selected for the anthology, if you've taken the time to write your story, you've left a legacy for your children and for your grandchildren.
Amen to that.
For complete instructions and details on this opportunity, please log on to skywatchtv.com/nofences. There's an old song, everything old is new again, and that is very true as regards the radical green movement. Welcome back to SkyWatch TV. We're talking with Sheila Zilinsky, author of the book, The Green Gospel, The New World Religion. Sheila, you talk about depopulation, and the modern manifestation of it has a very scientific veneer. Climate change, overpopulation, and even the abortion movement, which is couched in the terminology of rights. But when we go back to ancient times, we go back to, say, the 15th century BC, thereabouts, we do a little search, we can see one of the main prohibitions given to Moses by Yahweh was, don't do what these Molech worshipers are doing. How have things changed between then and now? I mean, we're sacrificing our children today just in a clinic instead of in front of a big statue with a boiling cauldron beneath it.
Well, again, Molech, Baal, it's the same pagan fertility cult, and it is under the fecundity of nature that we are anciently sacrificing. So this is a modern day form of Moloch worship, which is just so, like you said, Planned Parenthood clinics are a modern face of that. And so it hasn't changed, Derek. God is the same today, yesterday, today, and forever, and he has not changed what we are supposed to do. Yes, it is a noble effort to some people. We're not going to dump noxious chemicals in the water. We all have a vested interest in being healthy, but this is a whole new level of insanity because it's worshiping the creation as opposed to man having dominion over the earth. The earth was given to us benevolently for our use. There's resources, and they want to put us back into wilderness park areas. So when you look at the United Nations UNICEF map, it has all these wilderness areas carved out under Agenda 21. And so when you think about they want to, again, increase urbanization and dramatically reduce people living in rural areas, they want you in those stack and pack micro-controlled cities. They want everything hacked, tracked, and attacked, micromanaged.
Not only can you control people more easily when they are stacked and packed, you can also spread disease more quickly.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
One of the things that we've noticed here, and I'm born and raised in Chicago, so my idea of wildlife growing up was, squirrels and rats down in the subway. But we hear the coyotes at night. We've got cattle roaming the hills behind us. We've got armadillos. Haven't seen a live one yet, but there are lots of them that I've seen. But we've been told by fellows who know that there is a new breed that's been moving into the area called the coy wolf, which is a breed that is larger than the coyote, more aggressive than the coyote, and apparently a little sneakier and smarter than the wolf. We've also seen reports that big cats are making a comeback in areas where they had previously been driven out because they tend to eat things that are smaller than them, like children, pets, and livestock.
And they're going into cities. It's not just in the country.
They're moving into cities. They're losing that fear of humanity. How is this agenda being pushed on us, this rewilding of North America by the United Nations? How do they get the authority to tell us in our little local community here in our corner of the Ozarks what we can do?
Well, again, because the EPA, the Bureau of Land Management, all these alphabet soup agencies, the FDA, you mentioned the TPP earlier, that is complete subjugation by stealth. And these are the kind of legislative rulings that are coming down to it's complete domination of everything that you do. In fact, the eco-police are now on the horizon. So they're going to say to you soon, Sharon and Derek, you have exceeded your carbon footprint for the month and may not travel. Your audience may laugh, but this is coming. The green police, the green Gestapo.
In fact, that's not even a new idea. Patrick Wood, who I know you're familiar with, who's written an excellent book called Technocracy Rising, which should be on your reference shelf, points out that in the 1930s, Technocracy Incorporated, which I didn't even know was a thing, and is still around, floated the idea of getting rid of fiat currency and replacing it with carbon currency, where each of us would be given a certain amount of carbon that we could use per month to heat our homes, to drive to work, to go on vacation, or whatever. And when you got done at the end of the month, that was it. No rollover carbon. You know, that's how much you get for the month, and that's it.
Forget Bretton Woods. We'll just go with, petroleum-based.
Yes. Literally petroleum-based. Yes, because it would be strictly, and it would regulate how you would live almost every aspect of your life.
You have to remember that these players have raked in billions of dollars off this green stimulus. Through large grants, United Nations have paid out incredible amount of money for them to, again, Al Gore and his carbon credit schemes going back to Enron, Ken Lay. I mean, they were in place to laugh all the way to the bank. So, there's huge money in this green economy. Things that have failed in Europe. Windmills, solar panels, things that have crashed. And as James Hansen, NASA GIS director, I mean, this guy was like a commie agitator running around saying, oh, coal trains are death trains. They want to shut everything down. The steel mills, Obama has said on record, he wants to shut down industrialization in the United States of America.
Well, that's definitely happening. And you ran into that all the time in Illinois.
I was working as an outside steel salesman for the southern part of Illinois, which is heavily, the economy there, what isn't agriculture is oil and coal. And I can tell you for a fact that there wasn't anybody I talked to on a daily basis who wanted this administration back again.
And since you just talked about Justice Scalia, and which you'll mention again in a few minutes, his death paved the way for the Supreme Court to say, we're not going to get in the way of these new regulations. Go right ahead and tell those coal companies that they have to get in line or shut down.
And it is bad enough that there's an economic incentive here for this bad behavior. I mean, it's astonishing to me that the carbon credit idea is still alive, because the Chicago Carbon Exchange that was started by Al Gore and a group of investors basically went belly up, and a lot of people lost a lot of money and were convinced that they were scammed. But it's that the idea hasn't gone away. Is it just an economic motive, or are these the people at the very top of this? Are they really true believers in this green religion?
Well, the whole thing is not about the environment. They don't care about, it's not about the environment. The issue is never the issue, not just about the economy, but it's also about wealth redistribution in the mind of the Pope, who likes that Marxist idea of wealth they like to throw out that name. But the stunning part of it is it's really about that infestation of humans that is the real problem to the great goddess Gaia. You humans, the fact you breathe out that deadly CO2 are giving the great goddess a fever. And so at all costs, they want to protect Mother Earth. And I really believe these nefarious Luciferians, Manly P. Hall, Helena Blavatsky, Alice Bailey, they all said the same thing. They were nature worshippers. And so under the fecundity of nature, you have sacrifices. And what better to sacrifice the useless beer-guzzling plebs, us human infestation.
Hey, look, if you want to send me to Jesus now, you go right ahead.
Threaten me with going home to the Creator.
Exactly. Well, we've talked many times on Sci Friday and other places about the way technologically we are moving toward an artificial intelligence, uploaded consciousness. Well, those with lots of money probably look at getting rid of human bodies and think nothing of it. I'll just upload to the mainframe and I'll get to live forever.
Well, it's not unlike Karl Marx. He was sort of fashioned himself as a scientist who believed that those with a better brain had the right to rule others with those inferior...
That's typical eugenics.
That's typical eugenics. So you have all these players that belong to the same Marxist cabal, and it is diabolically opposed to Christianity. And that's what Christians need to understand. They're running around trying to save the planet. You couldn't save the planet if you wanted to. And like Derek said earlier, the sun is a big driver. The ocean is also, well, let's start taxing the ocean then, I say.
Well, the law of the sea treaty.
Yeah, that's actually going to happen.
That is going to happen, so yeah.
And you have Loretta Lynch and others now saying, we want stiff sanctions for climate deniers. If you deny, and anthropogenic global warming is just another fancy word for humans are causing it.
Right.
The Pope put in his encyclical, when did the Pope become a climatologist to say humans are the issue here?
He's a scientist. He's a Jesuit. Therefore, he knows, right?
Well, he knows.
Well, and that's something that Tom Horn has talked a lot about here. You know, what is the Roman Catholic Church doing, sticking itself not just into climate change, but also all of the astronomical observations that they're taking? You know.
But then back to Schnellhuber, he's a pantheist. So you've got the Pope's right-hand science sidekick as a pantheist and a hardcore depopulationist. Does that ring a bell with any Catholics?
Sometimes I feel like I'm just living in a different world than I grew
We've slipped
up
sideways
in when I was
into
a
an
kid.
alternate. Yeah. And it's all been wrapped in a very scientific veneer, but it's coming at us through a variety of different channels. Of course, our children are being indoctrinated at school that this is something that they need to do to save Mother Earth because the bunnies and the puppies will get hurt if we don't, and the polar
And
bears.
Godzilla will rise from the ocean.
That's
if we
right,
don't
because
stop it.
Godzilla, every time there's a nuclear accident, Godzilla rises up. So they've taken this and they're selling it to our children that way. They're selling it to us through the constant proclamations through the news media that the science is settled and deniers are well, you know, these Christians don't care because they believe that they're going to be raptured out of here anyway, and so who cares what happens to the earth? We're getting hit on multiple fronts. What do we as Christians do, especially, you know, as we train up our children and our grandchildren in the way they should go? How do we address this issue with them?
That is a great question. And again, because it tugs on the heartstrings. After all, you are causing polar bears, you know, you're wiping out the polar ice cap, the polar bears are drowning, sea levels are rising. So you've got this mantra woven in. Barely a day goes by when we don't see a caption of climate change. So it's just, you're right, Derek, it's so indoctrinated into our children. But we have the duty as Christians to reject this at all costs. You know, just when you thought, I mean, we have enough of the perfect-driven, you know, hearsay and all these secularism being woven, humanism, secularism, paganism being woven into the numbed church of today, because that's the problem, is that Christians, for the most part today, you know, it's a very light and feel-good message, and that is where we need to start really standing up for biblical doctrine, sound biblical doctrine, not accepting paganism, not accepting the green theology, but rather not the green gospel, the gospel of Jesus Christ, not a watered down, lukewarm
gospel. The gospel of the blood that was spilled at Calvary. Without his sacrifice, without his resurrection, we'd have nothing.
You know, I always say some days when the historians are sifting through the ashes of what once is a free West, a resounding silence is what caused its demise, because of the fact, and it's like Charles Finney said, when Satan rules in your congregation, that is because the pulpits have been silent. And that is where pulpits have to get back to the gospel, not the green gospel.
That would cure a lot of ills in America today and all over the world. Sheila Zilinsky, she's the author of the book, The Green Gospel, The New World Religion. And we would like you to have this. This is an important work for your reference library. The retail price on this is $30, but as always at SkyWatch TV, we offer some extras at no additional charge. The classic work by the late Dr. Stanley Monteith, Brotherhood of Darkness. Many of the players involved in the Green Movement documented here in Dr. Monteith's work. We add that plus the work by the late Dr. Noah Hutchings, The Dark Side of the Purpose-Driven Church, and a very important DVD presentation given the recent passing of Justice Antonin Scalia, America's Courts, Progress and Peril, featuring Alan Keyes, former presidential candidate and a wonderful orator. This is an important work again. The retail value of these three items alone, the DVD and the two books, $40. But so in a sense, you're getting $70 worth of material when you buy the Sheila Zilinsky book, The Green Gospel, The New World Religion. Which
It's a crazy price.
It is, but you know, Tom Horn is crazy. He's selling out to the bare walls. Yes. Sheila, which is about 30 seconds left. What do you hope readers take away from your book?
I think it's the most timely book we have. I hope readers take away the fact that we have to reject this at all costs. We have to get back to the gospel.
Amen.
Amen. Sheila, thank you very much. And we thank you for watching as we keep watch. For Sharon Gilbert, I'm Derek Gilbert, and this is SkyWatch TV.
From the time she was little, Nita dreamed of horses. Every childhood fantasy rode on the back of a heroic white steed, coming to save the day.
I don't know how long I've had this love in my heart for horses. It's just always been there. And when we were little girls, my sister and I would play all day long. I was always the white horse and she was always the little pink pig.
Let's pretend Lightning and Rosie can fly.
But everything changed in a heartbeat. On December 9th, 1971, a tragic car accident claimed the life of my dad and my best friend and my little sister. And I wondered after that if there was anything left to believe in.
Move aside, let the ambulance through. Please move aside.
As a child of 13, I felt like I had lost practically everything. And I wondered, is this it? I mean, where do I go from here? I could not have imagined back then how God could use horses, of all things, to restore my faith and vision for the future.
Starting April 19th, get your copy of Nita Horn's inspirational new book, No Fences, and learn for the first time her amazing story of loss, survival, determination, and healing. How the vision and love God gave her for these beautiful and majestic animals eventually led to the 150-acre Whispering Ponies Ranch, a general retreat facility, as well as a premier training location that specializes in using and gifting therapeutic animals to benefit the herding. Other care facilities, schools, and ministries across the nation.
When God puts something in your heart, it's there for a lifetime.